Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I wanted to really talk about kind of like who you surround yourself with. And I want to preface this by saying you do not have to cut anybody out of your life. Like, I understand it's easier said than done whenever you have people in your life who like you're forced to be around. Like maybe it's coworkers, maybe it's your family, maybe it is a certain group, like if you're at school or whatever the case may be. I know there's people around you who like you have to deal with, right? We're going to have to deal with negative people just because that's how the world is. Like we have sometimes a pessimistic world, and unfortunately we are not able to always be happy and go lucky and all the things, right? But it is important that you are surrounding yourself with people who are lifting you up versus bringing you down. I remember first hearing this, I think when I was a sophomore in high school. One of my teachers was like, Kelsey, when you're here and your boyfriend's here, one of you is going to move, right? Like you're either going to go down or he's going to go up. And we can only hope that he's going to go up. And in this case, like he was 1,000% right. And in that situation, I was just livid. I was so mad. I'm like, you're telling me my boyfriend is not good enough? And you know, all those things when you're 16 and hormonal. And he was right. Like I was getting myself into this crowd of people who were doing things that didn't align with who I was. But it was because I was putting myself in those situations. Peer pressure is a real thing. It's not just when you're a kid, not when you're a teenager, but as an adult too. And I found that out when we were in Florida a couple weeks ago. I have been trying not to drink as much because I feel like I get more anxious, I guess is the right word to put it. And I just don't love the person I am when I drink. I don't love how I feel when I drink. But if I'm around other people drinking, I'm like, oh, maybe I should drink. Maybe I need to do this. And I found myself doing that. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? So I just want to kind of talk about that today and really dive into what we can do when we get put in those situations. So for me, this analogy has been super helpful. If you imagine a thermostat, right? Like right now, you can see snow behind me if you're watching this on YouTube, but it is cold outside, okay? If I put my thermostat in my house to whatever, 70 degrees, it's cold outside, right? So all the stuff around me is down here going, going, going. But because my thermostat is here, my level is here, as the heater, in this case, kicks on, it's going to rise, right? It's going to rise, rise, rise until it gets to 70 degrees. Well, what if I want it to be warmer? I want to put more energy into it. I want to put more personal development and growth and love and all the things. It's not going to get higher than 70 degrees because that's where I have my thermostat set. Same thing if we're talking about the air conditioning side, right? If it was beautiful and sunny and you're in Florida in the summer and it's 100 degrees and you turn your air on and you're down here at 74 degrees and it's 100 outside, like it's going to throw in these, we'll call this bad, right? Like these bad things to try to cool you down. We're going to throw you curveballs and peer pressure and negativity and arguing at work and your kids throwing a fit, right? But you're only going to get down to a certain level because that's where your thermostat is. So I'm challenging you to raise your thermostat level, okay? So when the good stuff is coming in, you don't have this bar set so low that you're like, oh, well, good enough. I'm good. I don't need to push any further. Nothing else can bring me higher. Growth isn't a thing. That's just how it's always been. I'm stuck, right? I know for me, I have gotten into that mindset before of like, this is just how it's always been. This is just who I am. But as we grow and learn, like there's ways we can change constantly. And if you're not raising that thermostat level, you're never going to see that potential in yourself. But on the opposite hand, if you're all getting all this negativity thrown at you, you also don't want to be so low that it just keeps flooding in. Like you need a great barrier of, I don't know, equality, I guess is what I'm looking for. And I know I might be sounding all over the place, but I just have recognized the last, I don't know, couple weeks, the people I surround myself with matter. I am in a season of so much growth. My business that I had built for 6 years completely was washed away. I was able to start up my own business, start up something new. I've been going through a difficult, challenging season in my marriage. I have been working through, behavior changes with a kid going to kindergarten and a newly turned 3-year-old and all the sass and just life and all the challenges and figuring out a good balance. And I notice when I surround myself with people or even social media content that is negative, that is like talking about the problems in marriage or the problems with pharmacy or the problems with the world, right? I get brought down. Like, it goes down to that thermostat level because I'm like, I just feel like I have to be the same energy. Energy is flowing all around us. What we think about, we get more of. I've talked about that before. And if you are constantly surrounding yourself with content that is draining you, or people who are draining you, or doing things that do not align with your values, you're going to morph into that. And it's not that you're not being authentically you. It's just that you're made to have community. God put us on this planet to have community, right? He said, like, it is not good for man to be alone. And that was in Genesis. And from the beginning, he knew we needed him. He knew we needed other humans. But when we morph into what others are doing, whether it be positive or negative, right? It's kind of taking away from what we truly believe in here. The God who created us, what he wanted us to be in here. So I want to challenge you to think about that, because it doesn't mean, like I said, that you're not going to change. I want you to have people in your life who are going to push you. Right now, if you can see this little sticky notes on my wall here, if you're watching the YouTube, we have a group that we're running. It's an accountability group during December, 21-day challenge. It's got a cash pot of $250 at the end. And these women are in here leaning into movement and exercise, leaning into tracking their food to be more conscious about what they're doing, leaning into personal development. And because we have created this atmosphere, it is popping. It is freaking on fire, growing, and these women are having incredible results mentally already. It's only a couple days in, so we don't have a whole lot of physical results yet, but you can tell, right? You can tell it's brewing. You can tell the energy that is there, and it makes me want to show up even better, right? Whenever I don't want to press play on a workout, I can be like, but Susie did. Susie showed up today. Like, I need to show up. So it's a good thing whenever we're using it as in a positive way, right? To help you grow. But it can even be bad in that sense of like, well, Susie has this goal of quitting her job and moving to Alaska. And if I'm constantly around Susie, I'm like, well, maybe I should quit my job. Maybe I should move to Alaska. I don't actually like snow. So that would be a terrible thing to do, right? We get lost in it. And I just want to make you aware of it, because I want you to think about your group of friends, your closest people you're around, because they say the 5 people you're around, like, that's who you become. So if you're constantly around people who are pessimistic, who are talking about other people, who are eating junk every single day, who are not exercising, who don't take their health as a priority, who are, financially in trouble, like they put everything on their credit cards, like they don't have a sense of budgeting. If you're around somebody who is parenting differently than you want to parent, right? Like, it matters who you surround yourself with. So I want you to think about, one, what are your goals? Like, not everyone else's goals. Shut out the world right now and listen to you. What are your goals? What is most important in this season? And I know there's so much that's important, right? It is Christmas time. There's gifts galore. You want to work on, having a relationship with God, and you want to make sure that your kids are happy and healthy, and that your house is in order, and that you have presents, and that your husband is getting everything he needs, and setting up everything at work, and making sure all your end of year goals are met, and being ready for the new year, and focusing on your health, right? Just saying it makes me feel stressed out. So I can imagine you feeling the same way. And I just want you to think about, like, okay, but what in that is actually the most important? because a lot of times when we focus on one thing that's the most important to us, not to somebody else, right? Because this doesn't work if it's important to somebody else. If it's important to us, everything else trickles in. Everything else aligns with that one goal, and it kind of rises all tides. They say, I don't even remember what the quote is. I was going to say something clever, and I'm not because my brain is mush today. But whenever you are able to focus in on one thing, you're able to raise up everything else around you. I'm going to come up with that quote and put it in the show notes because I cannot for the life of me think what it is. But if you are thinking about what's the most important to you, so right now in December, like my physical health is the most important. One, because I know how my mental health is if I make my physical health a priority. Two, I've been feeling more achy lately, and I don't want that. I want to feel strong and be able to get around the house and play with my kids if they need me to play Legos on the floor or they want me to lift them up in the air or run out in the snow. I want to be able to do that without feeling hurt. And I also don't want to get sick. This time of year, my stress is at an all-time high. And it's not because of, anything different than I normally do. It's the expectations I put on myself of how I want things to go. And I have high stress, and then that usually ends up making me sick. So if I'm focusing on my physical health, like all the things around it are going to grow. Because if I focus on my physical health, guess what? I'm going to have more patience with my kids. If I focus on my physical health, I'm going to have more energy. If I focus on my physical health, I'm going to be more focused and energetic at work. If I focus on my physical health, I'm going to have a more loving, intimate marriage, right? Like all those things align, even though they're all goals right now, it all works together. So I want you to think about what's most important to you in December, because we're on the 3rd today. If you're watching this live, it's December 3rd. And you have an entire month to get prepped for the new year, to figure out what is most important to you and dial in on that. And then I want you to find people who also care about that. Hence why I have this group of ladies who I'm doing this accountability group with. If you are really focusing on getting your marriage to grow, if you've been stuck in a season of hurt and resentment, I want you to find other women, or if you're a guy watching this, other men who are really working on their marriage. They're making their marriage a priority. They're going on dates. They're going on trips. They are making time for each other. Maybe they're doing different challenges. If you're wanting to grow your relationship with God, I want you to go to Bible study. I want you to pick up your Bible and start reading and find other people in your community, whether that's online or in person, and ask questions. Dive in with them. If you are somebody who is working on anxiety, let's say, I want you to find other people who have went through that, who have been anxious and came out on the other side with different meditation techniques and breathing techniques. I want you to find the people who are going to lift you up, okay? Because if we are constantly, like I said, surrounding ourselves with people who are bringing us down, it's just a matter of time that we start to go down with them. And again, I don't mean this in any negative way. I don't mean that you need to cut people out of your life. Like, I understand that sounds harsh, but you have to be aware of who you're surrounding yourself with. If you are feeling drained every time you walk into the room with that person, maybe it's time to limit your communication with them, to limit your time with them. And it doesn't mean you have to cut them out and be like, peace out, Girl Scout, right? Like, you can still have a relationship with people from a distance. There's boundaries. You are able to decide, like, oh, I can tell this person about, the small talk stuff of life or the daily stuff, but I'm not going to get into them about my marriage because they're constantly talking poorly about their husband. And like, that's not where I'm at. I want to lift up my marriage. Or if you're really trying to have patience with your kids and they're constantly like, my kids are ridiculous, like they never listen, like they're constantly complaining, maybe that's not the person you need to be around. Maybe you need to be around people who are like thinking differently and thinking about like, okay, what's going on? Why is this behavior happening? So just be conscious about that this holiday season. This week, I just challenge you to think about, one, what your goal is, what is most important to you during this season, and two, are the people in your circle, the 5 people you're around the most, right? Are they helping you with that goal, or are they hurting you with that goal? All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have the best week, and I will talk to you soon.